In our first story, 2 gold dealers have been shot and robbed of their gold and money at Mansumusi Krom in the Amasia South District of the Ashanti region. According to residents, the 4 suspected robbers stormed the area Thursday dawn for a gold heist. We have on the line Kofi Edudonfe, who is editor at Love FM, and he will be giving us more details on this one. Kofi, what more do we know about this robbery?
They actually appeared from nowhere wearing compaction guns, and after the action, they disappeared into the bushes.
Right, Kofi, can you hear me? Yes, go ahead with your answer.
Hello?
Yes, Kofi, you're on air. Please restate what you were saying earlier. Start again for us.
So what I'm saying is that these robbers, there were 4 of them. They did not go to this area with any vehicle, not even motorbikes. What residents are telling us is that they appeared from nowhere, welding pump action guns, and after the action, they disappeared into the nearby bushes. There were 4 of them, and they came with the intent of robbing people of their gold and money. So the first victim they met was one that led them to 4 others. After they robbed him, they forced him to lead them to 3 gold dealers. And 2 of these dealers were later shot in the legs. And they have currently been admitted to the St. Martin's Hospital at Aviation. So one of them was also a mobile money vendor who was also robbed of some amount of money. So that's what we've been told. The police have indeed confirmed the incident happening, but according to them, this is a far away area, and currently their men are currently in the area to ascertain if they can pick some information whether they can arrest any of these suspects.
So these suspects are still at large?
Certainly, none of them has been arrested yet.
What's the current state of the persons who've been shot?
So we are told that one of them, the leg would have to be amputated because of the extent of injury to the leg. Both of them were shot in the legs. So one of them, the doctors say, would have to go through an amputation because the level of injury is that severe. And I must also say that this area is very notorious for such incidents. Barely a year ago, in May last year, about 8 suspected robbers were shot and killed. I mean, they shot and killed 3 people in the Manson Dadiasi. And it was in similar fashion. They robbed gold dealers of about 4 pounds of gold and cash and shot indiscriminately before they fled the area, just in similar fashion.
Kofi Edudonfe, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. He's editor at Love News. Now, Ghanaians at the border town of Paga in the Upper East region wants the government to intensify security at that area following a police wireless message warning of possible attacks by Burkinabe bandits. The wireless message circulated 2 days ago, indicating that the bandits are suspected to be in possession of military-grade weapons and may have already infiltrated some yet-to-be-identified areas to plan an attack. Now, Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu has said that security is on high alert and also encouraged citizens to report any suspicious strangers in their communities. But the Paga residents say they are scared for their lives. They believe that their security can only be guaranteed if the government sends soldiers and police to the area. Our Upper East Regional correspondent Albert Sori joins us for more on this. Now, Albert, since this police wireless message became public, how have things changed in the Upper East region? Right, Albert, if you can hear me, I'm asking how are things in the Upper East region now? Right. So we will bring you that conversation with Albert Sori because Ghanaians at the border town of Paga in the Upper East region are asking that government intensify security at that area following a police wireless message warning of possible attacks by Burkinabe bandits. Now, perhaps more worrying about this is that there was an indication in this wireless message that these bandits possess military-grade weapons, and it is possible they are already in some yet-to-be-identified areas in the country, and they have begun planning an attack. Now, yesterday we spoke to Stephen Yakubu, who is the Upper East Regional Minister, and he stated that a number of measures are being taken which he cannot share, and that security is on high alert. Now, he encouraged citizens to report any strangers in their community, especially those who would be suspicious. But we have been to Paga, and residents are generally scared for their lives. Now, of course, we know that Paga is one of the border communities when it comes to our northern boundary with Burkina Faso, and so there are it is believed that this is one of the towns that these bandits could enter very, very easily if indeed they are coming into the country from Burkina Faso. We'll go back to that story later. And aviation analyst Dr. Yakubu Akparibo disagrees with Defense Minister Dominic Nitowell's claims that the presidential jet was unsafe for travel because it required too many stops for President Akufo-Addo's journey to Europe. He says the Falcon 900, which currently serves as the presidential jet, has the capacity to travel to Europe without refueling. He also said the choice of an Airbus A320 to rent for the president's purposes was exorbitant, as an aircraft in a range of the presidential jet would go for about $6,000. He spoke on News Desk.
The current presidential jet, the Falcon 900, can make such a trip. I don't know why the president didn't use it. I don't know if it had technical issues like they had a problem in Washington before. But if not, with the Falcon 900, if you have like regular maintenance, it can go even more than 20 years and it will still function like new. So I had problems why the aircraft should have technical issues when it's about 11 years old now. If the maintenance is done properly, that aircraft should function like new. It shouldn't have a problem.
So the suggestion then is that perhaps it was poorly maintained?
Yeah, if it's proven that the aircraft really has technical issues, then that means the maintenance schedules are not being followed properly. So if you look at what he called, it's more like the top of the range. It's like you going to rent a car, you are given, you have a Toyota, a Mercedes, and then a Rolls Royce, and then you go and pick the Rolls Royce, you know. So that is what happened in this case. So the president could have gone for a less expensive charter than this particular aircraft. If we are hiring like it's a King Air is a very small aircraft. It's more like the Falcon 900 range. If you hire that in Ghana here, we normally pay around 6,000.
You're live on Joy News today. Now, of course, Dr. Akparibo was speaking on the back of the question and answer session in Parliament yesterday by Dominic Nitowell. Let's move to other questions, other stories. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta is expected in Parliament later today on this same issue to respond to questions on how much President Akufo-Addo's latest foreign trip cost the taxpayer. Minority spokesperson on Foreign Affairs Samuel Okudzeto-Ablakwa is alleging government spent $2.8 million on hiring a private jet for the trips instead of using the presidential jet. He filed a question demanding answers from the minister, which the minister will be answering today.
I told the defense minister, if it's all about showering in the skies, if you fly Emirates first class, Emirates provides that service first class. So that cannot be an excuse. To blow 15,000 pounds sterling an hour. So it is totally wrong, especially from a president who promised to protect the public purse. Is this how you protect the public purse?
Now, parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku-Gakpo joins us with more. Joseph, what's the specific question the minister will be responding to, and is it likely to settle the controversy? Right, we will get back to Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, but as we told you earlier, the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will be joining the House today to answer those key questions. In the meantime, let's go back to our earlier story where Ghanaians at the border town of Paga in the Upper East region wants the government to intensify security in the area following a police wireless message warning of possible attacks by Burkinabe bandits. Albert Sori has been speaking to these residents. He joins us with more. Albert, how has life changed in the Upper East region since this police wireless message?
Yes, Daniel. So people are just going about their normal activity. You don't get a sense that there is any sort of panic in the community unless you talk to people personally. So today I've been in Paga talking to some of the youth in the area. Remember that the group that we interviewed for this story, these are youth who are always in the community all the time, who are called upon when there's any issue that they need the youth support. So we use the opportunity to talk to them to try to find out how they are reacting to the news of this wireless message. One of the things they said was that just recently there was an armed robbery attack on a mobile money vendor, and a customer was shot in the process. These robbers have not yet been apprehended, and this for them was just armed robbery. And so if you are now talking about possible bandits who could be having military-grade weapons, then it could even mean that they are more in danger than they previously thought they were. So they've been calling on the security agencies to intensify security here so that if there is any possible danger, then at least they are sure that there is security present here. We also asked them if they think that they will be able to help the security in terms of what the regional minister was appealing to residents to do. And one of the things they said was that there are some people who, even though are from the Burkinabe side of the border, they speak the same language with them. So assuming somebody from this area is one of these bandits they are talking about, it will be difficult to identify them. So at the end of the day, it will take more presence of security for them to be able to assist. Otherwise, it makes it even more difficult for them.
Albert Sori, thank you very much for joining us from the Upper East region. Let's go back to Parliament, and Joseph Opoku-Gakpo has rejoined us. Joseph, we understand the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, will soon appear before the House to answer questions on this presidential travel controversy. What is the specific question he'll be responding to, and does it look like that will settle the controversy?
That's mainly the kind of conversation that's been happening here in Parliament as to whether the controversy will eventually be settled when the Finance Minister appears before MPs to respond to the question. Just to quote the question, it says to ask the Minister for Finance how much the President's recent official travels to France, Belgium, and South Africa in May this year cost the Ghanaian taxpayer. So the broad question isn't specifically setting specifics in terms of how much the hiring of an aircraft may have cost, how much may have gone into lunch, how much may have gone into accommodation and all. It sounds very much like a broad question, and some MPs are worried that there's a possibility he could go ahead and give possibly a round figure without the specific breakdown, and that will make it a bit more difficult to then confirm whether Mr. Kujetua Blackwest's claim that it cost 2.8 million cedis with the flight is actually the case.
Now, what else is the House expected to do when sitting resumes at 2?
The House would be approving more deputy ministers. You know that yesterday they approved 11 of them, plus the Minister of State and the Finance Ministry, Charles Edubwani. Today, another batch of 12 deputy ministers. We expect that a report recommending the approval will come before the House to allow for its approval. And then there will be a final batch of about 14, and that report is expected tomorrow, so that by the close of the week, the House will have completed approving all President Akufo-Addo's deputy ministerial nominees.
Joseph Opoku-Gakpo, thanks for those updates from the House. Now, at the time the country's COVID-19 cases peaked in Ghana, Joy News brought you a number of stories about persons who had succumbed to the virus or put up a spirited fight against all odds. Most of these stories are about adults. Today, we'll tell you the story of 12-year-old Georgina Lamte. She's been left with severe complications and is still on admission at the Ada Government Hospital after being infected more than a year ago. Bernice Abubedu-Lanta has more.
The COVID-19 virus sneaked into Georgina's system and almost robbed her of everything, her speech and the use of her legs. Her family is not sure where she may have picked it from. She's intelligent and strong-willed, her mother says. Perhaps it's that inner strength that has kept her alive. More than a year after contracting the virus, she's still on admission at the Ada Government Hospital. Georgina is frail and her eyes look like she's got a lot to say, especially about how she spent about 4 months on a ventilator at the Pediatric Intensive Care Unit, PQ, of the Korle Bu Teaching Hospital. Her mother tells us about the complaint that has turned out to be the family's worst nightmare.
My daughter complained of pain in her leg when she returned from school. From there, she couldn't walk again. So I brought her here to the Ada Hospital and we were transferred to Korle Bu. We found out there that she had been infected with a virus.
I meet Dr. Owusu Setre, head of the PQ at Korle Bu. He takes me to the ward where Georgina stayed.
One of the feared complications is that sometimes the paralysis can affect the muscles that help you to breathe. And in her case, it did. So initially we had to intubate her, put her on the machine. And when the test result of COVID came in, we had to send her to UGMC. So it was at UGMC, recovered. We were able to pull the tube out. She was able to breathe. And then they referred the child back to us. And then with physiotherapy, and the child was able to go home. Then the child worsened and then came back. So when the child came back and we put her back on the machine, every time we attempted to remove the machine, the child arrested on us. I mean, by arrest, I mean, if we don't put the child back on the machine, the child was going to die. And this went on for a period. The child spent about 120 days on the ventilator. Eventually, we had to make a hole here and then put a tube so that the child could breathe through.
Keeping her on life support for that long was an act of sheer generosity. Georgina's 82,000 cedi bill is still outstanding. She had become family and the nurses and doctors just couldn't pull the plugs on her. Georgina's health has been greatly impacted. Her family is staying strong for her, but the incident has also taken a huge emotional and financial toll on them.
Things are difficult for the family. What to eat is even a problem.
The doctors and nurses have really supported us. Georgina's twin brother and other sibling have stopped going to school.
There's no money. I'm a widow and an orphan. I have no siblings. I'm all they have. And I'm unable to do my usual petty trading because I have to be here for her. Doctors say she may recover fully, though slowly, and be able to return to school. She was in class 5 when the sickness struck. My daughter is strong-willed and hardworking. She and her brother always received compliments from their teachers. They have always asked me to pray for them so they would finish school and take care of me.
Detecting COVID-19 can be very tricky even to the trained eye. The global medical community is still working hard to understand the virus, especially how it presents among children.
The first child that we diagnosed in this unit of COVID-19 was on this one with an intubation and a ventilator on. Unfortunately, we lost that child. This child was about 8-9 years, and it happened around the time that we were on lockdown. And they were observing all the protocols according to parents. This child presented with what we called rabies-like syndrome, like when a dog with rabies bites somebody, the way they behave, aggressive, spitting at each other, trying to attack us and everything. And parents were so sure that this child had not gone out to be bitten by a dog. They didn't have a dog in their house, and yet that child was exhibiting those symptoms. Something very baffling. So we decided, okay, there's a new kid on the block, why don't we investigate for coronavirus infection? And voila, when the results came, it was COVID. Those that come in with severe conditions, some of them come in fact, most of them come with what we call the neurological deficit or manifestation, brain things.
While Georgina's family waits for a miracle, the WHO has warned of a possible third wave in Ghana. Health officials are racing against time to stay on schedule with vaccinations. The scary multiple waves of this pandemic continue to traverse borders. Everyone is at risk.
Babies lost, children left with physical disabilities for life, all because they contracted the deadly coronavirus. We can't say this enough. Please, try your best. Stay safe, observe the protocols, and that's how you can stay alive in this season.
For Joy News.
Now, Education Minister Dr. Yao Osei Educhum says his outfit has adopted policies and programs aimed at discouraging rote learning type of education that has come to be associated with Ghana's education. He says what came to be known in Ghana as the chew, pour, pass and forget way of learning accounts for the deficit in creativity and progress of students in the country. Speaking at the launch of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration as a UNESCO Category 2 Centre of Excellence at the University of Cape Coast, the minister says the country ought to move away from politicizing the country's education system. Richard Kojonyako has more.
The Education Minister, Dr. Yao Osei Educhum, was confident rote learning would be a thing of the past in the country, looking at the programs and policies being rolled out by the Ministry of Education. He says the country risks sacrificing the creativity of students should such a practice continue to be with us.
We want to see a situation where we are creating knowledge every day and we are not dispensing knowledge to the children for them to give it back to us. In Ghana, we call that chew, pour, pass and forget. But I call that chew, pour, fail and be forgotten. Because invariably those who chew and pour don't pass. We cannot create an education system based on record. Record is the lowest level of learning. So if you are teaching pollution and you are asking students to talk about causes of pollution, effects of pollution, that is fine. But the highest level of learning in that lesson will be when you ask students to create a city without pollution. They come together, brainstorm ideas and talk about solar energy and electric cars and others that will not pollute the environment. That is when you are really talking about bringing about transformation in your society. Because those children will leave that classroom and they'll forever remember that lesson, and they'll always look for ways of bringing about solution to problems that has confronted us for years. We have to come to a point when we are looking at age-old problems with a new set of eyes.
He expressed worry about how every educational policy that is fashioned out in the country is politicized.
Our education strategic plan is solid, great, and invariably I hear people saying, you are politicizing education, and yes, some of us as politicians are our worst enemies. Because when MPP does something great, NDC will make sure it's torn apart and vice versa in many times. Consequently, we diffuse the confidence of the Ghanaian in our system. You're doing everything and everyone is second guessing as to whether it's a political gimmick or it's truly something that can change the fortunes of this country. When I see E-blocks being politicized, I say no. E-block at Kwabenya, great location. Agrek Nzima in Kumasi, great location. The schools are full. Why should I say that it's a bad thing?
Director General of the Institute for Educational Planning and Administration, Dr. Mike Boachia, indicated the commitment of the now UNESCO Category 2 Center of Excellence is shaping up education in the country and the West African sub-region through effective leadership.
Our team believes in harvesting indigenous cultural knowledge to enhance research, teaching, and outreach. We encourage decolonizing educational practices and research in Ghanaian higher education especially. And we support decentering whiteness and recentering blackness in our practices. Our niche, therefore, is the introduction of practitioner seminars where accomplished practitioners, scholar practitioners.
The 40th session of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization General Conference approved IEPA's application for the Category 2 status in November 2020. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejunyako, Cape Coast.
Now, still on education, the president of the Conference of Heads of Assisted Secondary Schools, CHAS, Alhaji Yakubu bin Abubakar, has called on the Education Ministry to pay attention to investigations by education think tank Africa Education Watch that revealed how question papers were leaked in the 2020 WASSCE from various distribution points to online platforms. Speaking earlier on News Desk, Alhaji Yakubu Abubakar reiterated the need to deploy technology as a critical component in conducting examinations in our schools. Before that, let's listen to the Executive Director of Africa Education Watch, Kofi Asare.
WAEC is the referee, they are the player, they are the coach. They investigate themselves, they clear themselves, and they actually certify themselves. It is only when you have competition that WAEC will begin to realize that the turf is now not a monopolistic one, but one that standards and quality really counts if you want to remain relevant. In the UK, for instance, there are about 6 assessment bodies conducting assessments. In Nigeria, the WAEC has not got a monopoly any longer. But I'm not saying that Nigeria is doing it, so we should do it. No. What we are actually saying is that competition will infuse some dynamism and innovation in the methods of assessment.
Right.
And help us migrate from the test-based system, which we are overly used to. And then apart from that, it will enable WAEC infuse more quality and inject more technology into its work. The agency with which WAEC must act will have been emphasized if there's some competition. But if we remain monopolistic, there won't be any agency by WAEC to change most of its traditional methods that have been overtaken by technology.
As president said he had no objection to inviting other players apart from WAEC since it will enhance the quality of education.
Competition brings about quality against monopoly, which sometimes there is a tendency of relaxing, knowing very well that there is nobody else to compete with you. And like he rightly said, in Nigeria, for example, we have other bodies that conduct national examinations. So if the authorities look at it very closely, and it is generally agreed that where we have reached now as a country, there is a need for us to introduce an additional body that will also conduct national examination. Why not? We are all in for the good of the country. So CHAS will not frown its face at all with the introduction of a new body that will also ensure that exams are conducted and conducted very well in the country, in addition to WAEC. We have discussed at high level about some of these things, to the extent that in some of the countries, you will be writing the exams in the same hall, but the next person sitting to you will have different set of questions arrangements against what you have. So even to be able to, as it were, stretch your neck to get assistance from the next fellow by you, or getting an external assistance will be very difficult because you wouldn't know what is in the next person's paper against yours. These are all technologies that have come to play as far as examinations are concerned. We have always urged our authorities that though it is very expensive, but it is also good for the good of the nation. So they should look at how we can take advantage of such technologies to introduce them in our system too here, so that it will make the quality of our exams go up and higher. And at the end of the day, bring us very good results that we all cherish to have.
You're live on Joy News today. Now, the Minister for Interior and Member of Parliament for Nandong, Mr. Ambrose Derry, says some measures are being taken to secure justice for persons who suffered brutalities in the Techiman South constituency during the 2020 general elections. The minister is in the area to visit the bereaved families as well as some victims who sustained injuries during the polls. Anas Sabit has the details of this. He joins us on the telephone. Anas, when did the minister arrive and what has he been saying?
He got here this morning, and this is the first time he's visiting after the December electoral violence that saw 2 persons losing their lives and 4 others sustaining various degrees of injuries. You know, during the elections, the minister said the IGP was in charge of security because he was then a candidate. And so he was not in charge of security in the country. And after he was renominated as the minister in charge of interior, he went for the vetting. And after going through, this is the first time he has the opportunity to visit these victims and then let them know that government is ensuring that, or is taking measures to ensure that justice is being served to these families, those who have lost their lives, as well as those who have sustained various degrees of injury. So, therefore, I mean, in brief, this is the very reason why the minister is coming to Techiman this morning.
Right, Anas Sabit, thank you very much for joining us with those details. You're live on Joy News today with me, Daniel Dazi. We'll take a few messages. When we come back, business. Now in business, tax expert Dr. Abdallah Ali Nachia has described the introduction of the value-added tax some 20 years ago as a comprehensive one that has boosted the revenue base of the country significantly despite its challenges. Tax revenue shot up by 20% in the first year of introduction of VAT as it helped reduce tax fraud and avoidance. There's more.
Ali Nachia said the challenge of policy inconsistencies such as the introduction and withdrawal of VAT flat rate scheme should be addressed to enhance the mobilization of indirect tax. He was speaking at the PFM Dialogue Series on the theme 20 years of VAT, the good, the bad, the ugly.
What have we done to ensure why we removed it has been corrected? Because now the agitations are still there, should be withdrawn. Because of the uneven playing field. If I'm bringing in an item and I'm charged the standard rate because the person I'm buying from is on the standard rate, I can't claim it as an input VAT.
A tax lecturer at the University of Professional Studies, John Amu, for his part, called on all and sundry to embrace VAT since it has done more good to the country than harm. According to him, VAT pivoted the introduction of the National Health Insurance Levy, which today has benefited majority of Ghanaians.
In 1994, the tax evasion as a percentage of GDP was what? 20.67%. Then in 1998, it was 19.64%. But a year after the introduction of VAT, reintroduction, the tax evasion rate dropped to what? 18.76%. So we're saying that the introduction of VAT has brought about a reduction in tax evasion, tax fraud, and tax avoidance.
Former Finance Minister Seth Tekpe, who is a director of PFM Tax, said VAT assumption tax should not be used to penalize the businesses that are agents of collecting the tax. He told the media that VAT is a good tax that has aided revenue generation for the country.
So if you create more of those tax structures, then you end up increasing costs, because when business cannot claim the cost as credit, or it's not deferred as an exemption, or it is no credit, right? Then they add it to cost. And when they add something to cost, it increases prices. And if they cannot push the prices, then they find ways and means of avoiding the tax.
The event attracted people from academia, development partners such as the World Bank, and think tanks.
You're live on Joy News today. Now, Ghana has recorded significant remittance despite the COVID-19 pandemic, and the trend is expected to continue for the rest of the year. The country in 2020 recorded $3.5 billion, representing 6% of the value of the economy. According to the managing director of ZPay, Andrew Techiapia, his outfit is committed to improving upon the transactions recorded last year.
The 6% is for actually 2020. In 2020, Ghana did 3.5 billion, amounting to about 23 million transactions. ZPay contributed 2.4 million of that. In 2021 first half, we've done just about the same as what we did 2020 full year. As at Monday, we had done about $420 million at about 2.1 million transactions. This year, we're poised to do 4.5 million transactions at $840 million. Beyond that contribution, we're also contributing to improving the lives of immigrants and diasporans. Some of these events are some of the things we do as a thought leadership to bring remittances to the forefront and to make it a policy agenda with government, which is why we work with partners like IOM and partners like UNCDF. For us, remittance will remain our business model, remittance to wallet, and we'll continue to do this across the continent. As you might know, we recently acquired Mangui in Zambia to become ZPay in Zambia. We're on a journey to acquire as many as we can to build an African story, which is led by Africans.
You're live on Joy News today. That's it for business. Up next is sports.
Now let's do Man Ghana, and this year's Mr. Ghana 2021 Grand Prix comes off on September 4. Bodybuilders across the country will be given a platform to exhibit their power and strength, but the ladies would not be left out. Asar Bidiako has more in this report.
September 4 will be a special day for 3 female bodybuilders. They go head-to-head for the coveted crown of this year's Mr. Ghana Grand Prix. Eni Shiwoniku, Helena Kabaya and Nicole Patrick did not disappoint in the last qualifier for the big event. Many women in Ghana are reluctant to venture, but board member of WABA Ghana, Mega David, has encouraged women in the country to choose bodybuilding over other sports.
Definitely, I think they can also join the team. Sports is something that can go international. So when they join this activities, definitely they can also get something out from it. Definitely when they go to international programs, they can get money out from it. So they should also put in mind that not like maybe bodybuilding is going to spoil your body, or like most of the time like what they think is you can't give birth in future, so they don't want to join bodybuilding. And I'm telling my sisters that we have a lot of great people in bodybuilding, and they've all given birth, and they form a family. So definitely the ladies who have fear or who are putting fears in them that they can't join the bodybuilding, I'm pleading on to them to join the team. And
Live on Joy News today, let's take you straight to the Ghana International Press Center, where my colleague Paga Wilson is standing by because the Ghana Journalists Association is presenting the reigning GJA Journalist of the Year, Samson Ladi Ayenini, with his vehicle, which is a prize for that top honor. Paga, are you standing by the car right now?
Yeah, Daniel, just as you can see just behind me is the Volkswagen Passat, and that is what is going to be presented to the host of Newsfile, Samson Ladi, who was adjudged the Best Journalist of the Year 2019. And so we are told that the ceremony would soon commence, where the GJ executives will hand over the car keys to our very own colleagues. So this is a great day for multimedia and a great day for Samson Ladi, who is the reigning Journalist of the Year.
Right, have you seen Samson there yourself?
Yeah, I've seen Samson. He's seen his, normal batakari or smoke, very calm, gentle. He's waiting to receive his vehicle. And of course, when he's done, we'll get a word or two from him of how he feels about receiving this prize for being the best journalist of the year 2019. And then I must say that I'm sure that 2020, if you are judged the best journalist of the year, you will equally be given such a vehicle for use.
I'm waiting for you to pick yours up. Paga, thank you very much for joining us with that update from the Ghana International Press Center. Congratulations once again to Samson Lardy Ayenini, reigning GJA Journalist of the Year, host of Newsfile and host of The Law, for picking this one up. We'll all be getting a ride in that very soon. Up next, though, is Showbiz with another excellent journalist in her right, host of E with Bex, the Bex in E with Bex. Becky is joining us with Showbiz.